Well, welcome everybody. I'm so excited that you're here today. Mirror, mirror, truths only mystery shopping provides is our green room topic for today. So I chose this one specifically because this seems to be the time of the year where a lot of people are talking about mystery shopping inspections because we're starting to get ready for the holiday season. So this was always the time of the year where I used to be walking through the property and somebody used to walk into my office and go, the inspector's here. And this always kind of felt akin to, like turning the lights on in a seedy hotel and kind of like watching the floor move, if you know what I mean. And I hated it. When we knew that a mystery shopper was on property, I hated that pit in my stomach that grew with every suspicious glance that was sort of going on in the property. And you always wondered, who's the shopper? Where is the shopper today? Was he in your restaurant? I don't know. How did turn down go? So everyone was freaking out and losing their minds. And you knew that the shop and the results that you were going to get weren't the best. You just knew. So I hated that idea of being analyzed, watched, sneaked up on, but then secretly we all kind of also craved it. So it was kind of weird. Guest feedback was nice, but I really, really wanted to hear from an expert. And that's why shops were great. And they still are great. We need to know, how are we doing and how can we improve? If you have a good shopping program, that is what it's going to be able to give to you. So there are some of you out there that already have a shopping program. And today I want to be able to give you some ideas to make it better. Some of you might not have a shopping program, and hopefully you're going to be able to get some ideas about how to get it off the ground. And no matter where you are in the process, I want to give you an opportunity today to be able to have some conversations with each other about what you are able to do to make the most out of any shopping program that you either have or want to have. So, there are going to be some great benefits to it, and there are also going to be some stressors about it. So I'm going to kind of, pop the top off of it for you. Feel free to raise your hand and ask some questions today, and I'll tell you everything I know and share with you as much of my experience as a mystery shopper as I possibly can. So just so you know, I have been a mystery shopper myself for about 18 years at this point. And I think in my career, I have probably shopped about 50 properties. So I've seen quite a few interesting things. I mean, you find things under beds, you find flies in coffee, you find pretty amazing guest experiences, you find different ways that people do different things. I mean, you experience just so many varieties and variances of things. And so I want to be able to kind of just give you as much as I can here in the shortest amount of time so that you can think about what you need to do so that you have an expert that's telling you about shopping. So let me tell you, why do you need mystery shopping? First of all, you have to decide whether or not it's needed for your property. Uh, I don't think it's for every property. I think there are some properties that don't need it. If you are trying to pursue a specific rating or a specific publication, so let's say that you're looking for a 4-star rating or a 4-diamond rating, 5-star, 5-diamond, then you need a shopping program. If you are in a situation where you want to be rated by small luxury hotels, preferred hotels and resorts, Relais and Chateau, you need a shopping program. If you are experiencing some inconsistencies within your product and you are not able to have some communication that's going on throughout the property as to why those inconsistencies are occurring on a regular basis, then that's a good sign as well. If there's a disconnect in your coaching or training practices where you can tell that the way that one person trains one thing is not the same as the way that someone else is training that same thing. That's also a good sign. If there's a true commitment to improvement, and I mean the word commitment, then this is your kind of next step. This is where you should go. So it's one thing to say, hey, we want to get better. But a lot of people say they want to get better. A lot of properties say they want to get better, and they don't really mean it. So to me, this is really putting a stake in the ground and saying, no, for real, we want to get better, because we're willing to really get naked and get real with all of the things that we're not doing very well right now. So if you're at that point, then I think that you need a program for sure. If you're trying to drive rates, if you're trying to drive occupancy, if you're experiencing a big change in your market mix and you're starting to go from a heavy group house to a heavy transient house, if you're seeing a big conference coming up, or there's going to be a big eye on your property for a big US Open tour or a giant ski race event, that kind of thing, something that's going to put you in the public eye in a big way, and you know that there will be a lot of press on you, those are all good indicators that it's time for a shopping program of some sort. The other reason, another big one, is, and you've heard me say this before, people respond not to what they hear, but what they understand. And sometimes it is just as simple as looking in the mirror. A lot of us can be told many, many times, hey, you can't walk through the restaurant with a cup of coffee. And we're like, whatever, fine, I won't. But until you actually see yourself on video walking through your restaurant with a cup of coffee, and you see the expression on guests' faces as they watch you walk through the restaurant with a cup of coffee and whisper about you, and you feel embarrassed because you saw that happen, you won't stop walking through your restaurant with a cup of coffee. Take it from somebody who actually did that personally. So I bring that up simply because that, to me, is the fundamental impact that mystery shopping can really provide, that no amount of training can ever truly provide. Okay, how should and shouldn't you use mystery shops? This one I get a lot because sometimes clients call me and they'll say, hey, we want to do a shopping program. And I'll say, why? And sometimes I find out that the reason why is because they want to catch somebody doing something wrong. And while that sounds like a great idea, catching somebody on camera doing something wrong, that's not why you should have a mystery shopping program. The intention behind a mystery shopping program should truly be because you want to catch people doing things right. You want to have great examples of performance. You want to be able to show your team the right way. So that doesn't mean that you're going to always get awesome examples. You're going to find really great learning opportunities. And if you choose the right shopping company, they're going to be able to give you the right video, the right photos, the right executive summaries, the right results, objective results that you'll be able to share with reliability, that's going to be able to get you the results that you need because you can trust them. And your shopping company is going to show you how to use those right. So don't use them to punish people. Don't use them to put them on people on performance plans. Use them to show the right examples. Use them to quantify results. Use them to measure where you are today and where you want to go. Use them to tie in to where your guest satisfaction feedback is saying you are and where a shopper is saying quantitatively you are. Are they congruent? If they're not congruent, why aren't they? Is it perhaps because your guest satisfaction criteria are not lined up right? Are you asking the wrong questions of your guests? Are you maybe being too loose with your service standards, with your criteria that you're actually expecting? So there are a couple of different things that it can reveal for you. So how should and shouldn't you use mystery shops? Don't use them to punish people. Use them to show good examples, and use them to measure results and really get that professional viewpoint of what you're doing. What types of shops are there? There are a lot of different kinds. You can get telephone shops. You can get on-site audit shops where you have a shopper that comes right on property and they're not mysterious. So it could be someone that actually just walks through with you and they tell you exactly what they see. And then sometimes it is secret video. So there are all different sorts that you can do. Most good ones will have some sort of a written component associated with it. So it isn't just going to be video. It's going to be an executive summary as well as some quantitative analysis. How should you prepare for a shop? Meaning, how should your company prepare for a shop? And then how should the organization that's shopping you prepare? How do you choose the right one? Okay, there are a few different things here. I think the first thing that I want you to think about is the fact that the company you choose has to be one that has your best interests at heart. That seems pretty obvious, but there are a lot of companies out there that really work on amassing as many accounts and clients and shops as possible because they try to get as much volume as possible. They really work on volume. There are other companies that work on membership. So for them, it's really more about you got to pay to play. So you want to make sure that you're choosing one that really has your best interests at heart and isn't one that's in it for for interests that aren't yours. So I think that's one thing. I think the second one is you want to find a shopping company that is going to listen to what your objective and what your goal is for these evaluations. You want a shopping company that's really curious about how your property or your resort works. They want to know how you are going to use the evaluation. They want to know what standards you already have in place. They want to know how you're going to use the results in training and development. They want to know what your turnaround time is going to be. They want to know how many people need to have access to it. They should be advising you to make it as transparent as possible, meaning that as many people on property should have access to the results. So you really, I think you should be looking for somebody that is going to help really advocate for you making this a tool and not just a report. So those are a few things. I think the other thing you want to find is a company that has the right technology. It's easy to find companies that will come in, or even people that will come in and say, "Hey, yeah, no problem. I'll stay for a couple nights. Sure, free meal, free night. That's awesome." And so I'll explain that in just a moment. But there are some pitfalls associated with that as well. That you're going to get what you pay for when it comes to that. So you don't want to work with just a scheduling company. You want to work with somebody that really vets their shoppers. So you're going to be prepared to ask a lot of questions that get to some of these answers. And if you need someone to help you come up with the right questions, ask me. I'm always here. Okay, is the company knowledgeable about your industry? So this is sort of tied in with that previous one. You know, a good shopping program can often be a very long-term investment. I have clients that we've shopped for 5 years, 15 years. It's a long time. And it pays dividends. It really pays off when you have the right kind of feedback. So you have to make sure this provider has their own service standards, right? Just like you do. So they want to support your goals. They have to know who your guests are as well. So that's the other thing is you want to make sure you find a shopping company that truly has shoppers that would really pay $5,000 a night. That's a different type of a guest, as you and I both know. If it's a shopping company that has guests that would typically stay at a Days Inn, don't hire them. Do they have the type of, are they very flexible with changes in your business model? So are they able to delete standards as needed? Are they able to change the tone of the executive summary for you when that's needed? Do they want you to actually use the data? So you want to be thinking about those things as well. So choosing a shopping company, it seems like it should be very easy, right? And while it should be easy, there are just so many out there, and everybody thinks they can be a mystery shopper, and that's just not true. So think about that a little bit. What criteria should the shopper use? How is that decided? We have some mystery shops we do that have 2,000 service standards, and that's a typical shop for us because a upscale or a luxury property has a lot of service standards. I mean, if you think about it, for a four diamond dining experience, it could easily be 200 service standards right there. So then if you look at handling a special request, reception upon arrival, bell staff service upon arrival, you're looking at um, coffee service, fitness center, just go down the list. There are dozens and dozens and dozens, and every single experience has their own thing. And then there is probably a core set of culture specific service standards that then gets overlaid on top of all of that. So it's a lot. So those are the criteria the shopper should be using, as well as recommending to use a set that gets infused into that really achieves some goals that you are trying to accomplish. So let's say, for example, that you want to increase overall sales across the board. Well, they should be recommending to you a good core set of service standards that then cascades into every set for every department that are, of course, relevant for each area. So that should be decided together. You should be engaging your directors of operations, your directors of lodging, food and beverage directors. You should be engaging directors of training, pretty much all department heads. And so there should be a mutual review and approval of your standards, your criteria prior to your first evaluation. And I would suggest that you consider your first evaluation to be one that is not maybe, I mean, of course it's going to be, it will be a valid evaluation, but be okay with making some changes after that first evaluation, knowing that you work really hard to make sure that first evaluation is exactly right, but you might find out afterward, well, I mean, I wanted to change this and we want to make that different. And after we've done this one time, and that's okay. If you're working with a good shopping company, they're okay with making those changes. Okay, how are shoppers found and paid? Maybe I should back into this one first. Can't I just pay my buddy to come and shop me for a free meal? You can. Do you trust him? I mean, I'll just say that. I mean, can you afford to do it that way? If you want to keep paying your buddy to come in for a free meal and tell you every time, hey, it's awesome, it's just like last time, it's pretty great. You can keep doing that. You're going to run into a few things. One is when you have the same evaluator that comes in repeatedly, they become what I call nose blind to a few different things that perhaps a new face, a new eyes, new brain is not going to be too familiar with. The second thing that occurs is they could get found, they could get discovered, and that can become a problem. It's not always a problem, but if you're trying to uncover a very particular issue, it can become a very big problem. The other thing is it's not taken as seriously when it's just for a free meal. We always pay our evaluators because I want it to be considered a job. So we actually pay better than most other organizations for that very reason, because this is a job. I expect it to be treated as a job. And I also expect that if there is anything that's not to my expectations or standards, that it's going to be corrected right away. And there won't be a lot of hassle associated with that. So how are shoppers found or paid? So that depends on the organization as well. So like I said, there are some shopping companies that are going to just be scheduling companies, and they really focus on technology and just going out into the cyber web and just looked like fishing for people. And then there are other companies that really do a much better job of vetting people because they look for a certain pedigree. So in our case, we'll go out every once in a while into our social media networks and we'll vet people. So a lot of people express interest and they're like, oh, it's great. I'm not doing anything right now. That'd be fantastic. Well, they're not always the best people. So typically that's not very fruitful for us. But every once in a while, it will be perhaps a general manager who is currently in the middle of doing a few other projects or who has retired, and they just are now in that sort of sunset of their lives, and they have a ton of experience and an awesome eye, and they're perfect. So that's the kind of person that we want. So that's who we look for. And other times it's just very seasoned travelers. We have some guys who do hundred shops every year, and so we're very lucky in those cases. And we have some very specific types of profiles as well. So we go out and we find them and then we keep them and we take good care of them. So it depends on the company. If they're a good company, they don't just schedule them. Okay, so what do you do with the results? Well, let's see what they tell you first. So here are some good examples of things that photographs can show you. First of all, they can tell you things about food quality. So if you look at, some of these pictures that I'm showing you here, you can see things like a really rotten strawberry on a fruit plate that was $25. And you could see a stain on a couch. This is a heavily used room, and this was a $849 a night room. This is a carpet of a fitness center, 24-hour fitness center. This is plate presentation for room service. And when you pay $106 for a room service for 2 people for breakfast, you're expecting a little more. Good old jujube under the couch. And you can find out things about how housekeeping is taking care of the kind of the assets of the property or not. You can find out lots of other things as well. Sometimes these are the more static things that can be discovered through photographs. Video can show a lot more. So here's a great example of a housekeeping encounter where you're seeing delivery of an item.
There you go. Sorry for the delay, sir. Oh, thank you very much. Have a good day, sir.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you.
Okay, so just for the interest of time, we picked one that was very brief, but when you know that the service standards for this particular interaction would have included a time of day greeting, a use of the guest name, a two-hand handing over of that particular object, an offer of additional assistance, and a thank you, and as well I think there was one other thing. I think those were the key standards that were missing from this encounter. You can see how being able to have video of this drop and dash encounter is really helpful from a training and development standpoint. So these are some things that can be told through a shop that you can't otherwise learn. Some other things that you learn are the guest perspective of the experience. So this is good because if you're going to get a shop done, you want to get a really good executive summary as well that is written from the guest's perspective, because you might agree or disagree with the results, but the temperature, otherwise known as the way the guest felt about that experience, is rather irrefutable. And it's not something that necessarily can be negotiated with or anything but heard. It's not right or wrong. It was felt. So these are the kinds of comments that I think really go a long way. So when I want to know that something was a major point of contention for the guest, I want to know why. I want to understand that. And perhaps it's something I need to act on, and perhaps it isn't. If it's something that compromised a score, then sure, I do. So speaking of scores, again, I said earlier about technology, you definitely want to make sure that you have some good technology behind your shop. And if you have a good piece of technology, it's going to show you some things like overall scores by attribute, whatever those are that you decide together. Perhaps it's going to also show you ratings across certain time periods and based on each service standard so that you can see whether or not you're improving or decreasing. So if it's in the green zone, that's good. If it goes in the red zone, that's bad. It's bad. So you'll want to be able to see those things. And then all these things here are the service standards. You'll see here, is it based on exterior or interior in this case? And environment and atmosphere was the overall kind of area here. You'll also be able to rank departments over time. So this is good because you could have housekeeping, engineering, front office. Um, you could even have different locations. So in some of your cases, I know you have separate properties. So you could have property 1, property 2, property 3, property 4, property 5, property 6 over time for an overall on accommodations, let's say. So those are ways that you can use this. So they can tell you a lot of things. All right, well, what if you don't agree with the score? A good shopping company is going to listen. They're going to talk it through with you. They're going to give you the pros and cons about changing the score. If you have a really good shopping company, they've already validated that score, which means it wasn't just the shopper and bang, it's out there. Somebody's listened to that. They've heard, they've watched the video. It's been checked by somebody else already. So if you don't agree with it, talk with them about it. It really kind of boils down to what's the objective of this evaluation, of this shop. Because if the objective is to use it as a training tool, maybe the score is not as important. If it's to decide whether or not we're going to get our 4th star from Forbes, and this is sort of like our PSAT for the Forbes 4-star rating, well, maybe it matters a lot more. So you get to figure that one out together, and you might change the score. You might not, but you might. But bowling for points is never the answer. Okay, what are the best ways to share results to get results? Be transparent. Share it with everybody. Here are some best ways that I've seen that other properties use the results that we share with them. They use them to kick off staff meetings. They use clips. They use the scores. They create topics of discussion at pre-shift meetings, and they share some of the results or executive summary details. They make these organizational focuses of the week, and they line them up with other organizational focuses of the week. So you can pull some great info out of these. Maybe it's a new or revisited training topic. So maybe it becomes a hot button. So if you can see that name usage comes up time and time again in the shop, and you can see that it was the #1 missed service standard that came up time and time again, then this is probably a great training topic that you can hit and hit it hard. Service standard reminders in general, you can use this for performance accountability and coaching. New hire training, great training videos come from this if you have, again, the right shopping company that makes your videos right for you. You can use these in employee engagement retreat kind of things. If you have the ability pre-season or post-season to go back and replay the tapes, right? And finally, in any kind of culture, team building events that you have. So there are lots of ways to positively use and share the results in a way that isn't demotivating and depressing. It doesn't mean that the scores are always going to be great, but I can tell you that most people, in fact, most people, 97% of people, in my gut says, they want to know the truth, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Last question, how often should mystery shops occur? That's going to depend, I think, a little bit on what you need. I mean, some people are seasonal. They need it during their busy period, and they need it at high frequency during their busy period. Some need a very full, very thorough on-site 3-day, 2-night evaluation quarterly. Some people need something that's more like a monthly spot evaluation of random areas one time a month. Some properties just want something on a regular basis every single month. So it depends on the goals or objectives that you're looking for. And again, your evaluating company can assist you in making that determination. So that was a lot. And I hope this gave you some insight as to how mystery shopping can help you, how it is an excellent tool for a lot of different reasons. Again, if we can ever help you to make the right choice whenever you're ready to start creating a program of your own, please reach out to us. We'll help you find a good organization that can help you. Remember, this is part of your virtual coaching solution. We offer these green rooms every single month, and the fixed videos are coming out every single week. So spread the word, spread them out, share, share, share. These are helping you all to be better leaders because you're sharing information. And remember that next month, we have our green room on November 29th, which is Mastering the Art of Gratitude. So we'll see you then, everybody. Thank you for coming today, and I'm grateful that we were together. Have a good day. Bye.